On today's show, Aliaksei Protas helps lift the Capitals over the Blue Jackets in OT.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called The Capitals Minutecast, available wherever you find your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You can start this season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about that there is no rust with this Caps team. After having 4 days off, this Capitals team found a way to rally the troops and pick up a big OT win, and that was fueled in large part by Aliaksei Protas. I'll talk about that a little bit later. I'll talk about who stood out in this game. It was a low-scoring affair. There were a decent amount of shots in the game, but who really stood out? And then later, I will talk about areas of improvement that, despite the fact that the Capitals found a way to win in OT, there are still things for them to work on. But just to get it going here, talking about the Capitals' success this season on the road. The Caps now, their road winning streak is at 10 games, 10-0-0. Kind of defying odds and trends that generally your team plays better at home. Well, for this year's Caps team, they are playing much better on the road, and it's almost getting to be a record-breaking stat. Capitals' 10-game road win streak is tied for 7th longest in the NHL. And you take a look at it. This was a game that saw Columbus get on the board first. And you take a look at the Capitals. This is a team that the arrow is pointing straight up. You take a look at the Columbus Blue Jackets. They are trying to do anything to try to get their team up in the standings. But it was, every time the Capitals play the Blue Jackets, you think that it's just going to be just a blowout. The Capitals are just going to have their way with them. Not the case. Usually a low scoring affair. Usually the team only wins by 1 goal. That was evident, as was tonight as well. The Caps faced off against the Columbus Blue Jackets, like I talked about earlier, after a 4-day break. Picking up a 2-1 OT win. And sometimes a team will struggle. And that was one of the things that I had worried about. That is one of the things that I had heard Spencer Carberry was worried about, is how was this team going to play with such a long break? And it's interesting that, the team was playing so well. And sometimes your team, when it's in a groove, that you want them to keep playing, because sometimes you start to lose momentum and chemistry, that kind of thing. But that was not the case for the Capitals tonight. But taking a peek here at the standings, the Capitals have 42 points, which still has them sitting atop the Eastern Conference and, of course, the Metro Division. However, we take a look at the Western Conference here. The Jets have 43 points, followed by the Wild's 42. So the Capitals are still humming along, playing some truly great hockey, defying odds. It's one of the things I talk about on this show all the time, is this team is defying odds about what anyone had thought this team was going to do. And it's the guys like Pierre-Luc Dubois. And it was a really cool moment to see him go back to Columbus and be a big contributor in this game. But the biggest contributor, of course, was Aliaksei Protas. And surprising, I'm still going to go ahead and say surprising about Aliaksei Protas, is you take a look at where he was slated to start this season. He was slated to start on the 3rd line. And look what bumping him up in the lineup has done. Just goal-scoring fuel. So what's changed between this year and earlier seasons is, I think, confidence. I think chemistry. And I think just putting that big frame to work, that when he's, making his way down the ice, driving for the net, it's not a lot of guys are going to be able to get in his way. And Protas had an impressive performance, scoring both of the Capitals' goals. So he got a goal in the third period, and then he got the OT winner. And not a real big showboat. I guess I got to say, he is a guy that was just kind of pumped his fist a little bit, like, "Yeah, we got her done." And it's surprising in a lot of ways, and I'm happy about it. That sometimes you're getting the goal scoring out there, and it's not from some of the names that you would have anticipated. Now, Protas unleashed a powerful one-timer that beat goaltender Jet Greaves, which leveled the game and sparked the Capitals. Sometimes it's all about momentum, isn't it? That it did seem at certain points that it was a bit of a stalemate, that it did seem that it felt like the Columbus Blue Jackets were kind of walking away with this game, that they were kind of battening down the hatches. But in any event, the Capitals were huge in this game. And when I say huge, finding a way to win this game, that, historically, this team has struggled when the other team had the lead. They found a way to tie the game and found a way to get it done in OT. And Aliaksei Protas is the guy that got it done. But other notable players in this game, as well, as far as offense is concerned, is Dylan Strome. He contributed significantly by assisting on the game-winning goal in OT. And what do we know about Dylan Strome? He is the guy that, he's kind of the replacement for Nick Backstrom, I guess is what I'm going to say. That when Alex Ovechkin is in the lineup, he is the guy that is helping Ovechkin, knock down more goals and assisting on a lot of the goals that would have been historically Nick Backstrom. And, it's something to marvel at because, like I've talked about on the show, he was kind of put on the scrap heap by the Chicago Blackhawks. But look what he has done for this team. Just amazing. He now has 36 points this season, ranking 12th in the NHL, scoring and on pace for an impressive 105 points, showcasing his ability as a playmaker. And he has that. He has a great hockey IQ. He sees the ice very well, and he is really good at finding the back of the net on his own, but also assisting on some truly great goals by Ovi, amongst other players. So just, one of the moves at the time that I thought, I knew that he was going to be an improvement. I knew that Dylan Strome was going to be an improvement. I didn't, however, know that he was going to have such an impact, and he has had that big time. But of course, what cannot get lost in all of this, as well, is the performance from netminder Charlie Lindgren in this game. Our goalie had an outstanding night, making 32 saves on 33 shots. Chucky Sideburns, the outlaw, getting it done, making an interesting case, making it interesting, isn't it? You take a look at Logan Thompson, LT, and what he's done for this team, and of course, knocking it out of the park. But right in that same breath, is Charlie Lindgren, just really making a case that, hey, I know it seems that, Logan Thompson is the clear-cut favorite to get the extension this year, but hey, don't forget about my contributions as well. Lindgren demonstrated his agility, highlighted by a remarkable stick save against Marchenko in the third period. And it's one of the things that you really have to have a cool head. And one of the things that Charlie Lindgren does have is a cool head. I mean, I recollect back to when he scored on his own net. And for me, if I was the netminder in net at that time, I would have probably been like, okay, there's something out there that's saying I should not be playing right now. And I'm going to go ahead and make my way to the locker room. Not Charlie Lindgren, cool under pressure, and ultimately helped the Capitals last year, making it to the playoffs, and the Capitals making it to the playoffs period. Also has been clutch for the Caps this year. He is certainly making a case that he could be the number one in net if he continues to keep finding his rhythm. And, the Capitals are benefiting. It is a battle. Make no mistake about it. It's like a QB battle that you hear about in the NFL, that whoever is going to be the better guy is going to get the job. In any event, the team benefits at the end of the day with some really great play. And that is ultimately what the Capitals have had in Charlie Lindgren. All right, so coming up here after the break, we'll talk about players that stood out and what players really need to step up. I'll talk about that straight ahead. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least two players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in place even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineups live. Sign up today and get started with $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. And listen, guys, there is a lot of football that's played on any given Sunday or Monday or Thursday, and some of those games you're into and some of them you're not. But if you want to pique your interest, open up the FanDuel app, put a little bit of money on the game. All of a sudden, those games got that much more exciting. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme. You can find me on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. And the best way that you can help grow this show is to subscribe or follow this podcast on YouTube. I sure would appreciate it. All right, in this next segment here, we're going to talk about what players really popped off the page in this game. And one player in particular I was happy to see out on the ice was Tom Wilson, as we know that he took that puck off the face. And there was a lot of questions about if he was going to be good to go. And Tom Wilson this year has been absolutely huge for this team. The de facto leader, leading by example. That is some of the things that we like. And, it was interesting to see him out there with that aquarium front that he had on the front of his helmet there. But he still found a way to contribute and help this team along. Not necessarily getting the offense that we were looking for, but definitely leading by example. So taking a look in this game in particular, that Jacob Chychrun, another guy, a blue liner, is definitely stepping up and making his name known as well. And Chychrun, we know that a lot of us are hoping that he is going to get that long-term deal, as he has been nothing short of stellar for this team this year. And, the thing that I like about Jacob Chychrun, of course, is that, the Capitals got him on the cheap. It was Jensen and a draft pick that went out to Ottawa. In return, the Capitals got Jacob Chychrun. What quite a return, and he has been nothing short of impressive in this game. So taking a look at that, Chychrun, 2 assists in this game. Pierre-Luc Dubois, an assist, and 3 shots on goal. So talking about Pierre-Luc Dubois here for a moment is, oftentimes, like I've said, people go, hey, how's that whole PLD situation working out for you? It doesn't really look like he's lighting up in the goal scoring department. And to that, I would say, sure, I think that he could find the back of the net on a more frequent basis. But at the end of the day, you take a look at him tonight, an assist and 3 shots on goal. That's what I'm talking about. It's getting it done. And that is what he has meant for this team. A leader, despite what we have heard about him from the Kings and other teams, that he's actually well liked in the locker room. Other contributors as well. Lars Eller getting 4 shots on goal. Big for this team. I think that, down the stretch, he could be a key piece for this team as well. That there was a lot of questions at that third line center position. I think that Lars Eller necessarily hasn't set the world on fire with what he has done so far. However, I think that he is the perfect fit on that third line, and in a lot of ways, just really stepping up and helping this team do great things. Taking a look at other players of note is Radish, 6 shots on goal. Matt Roy, 2. Rasmus Sandin, 2. Tom Wilson, like I said, 3. That, if you take a look at the box score and you see that 2-1 score, OT, 2-1, Caps win, you think to yourself, well, there wasn't a whole lot of offense. And to be sure, there was not a lot of offense, but what are the things that we know is that if you keep peppering the netminder with shots, good things will happen. And that was evident tonight. Now, it was, like I said, a bit of a stalemate, a 2-1 game, but it paid off. And it paid off for a guy like Aliaksei Protas. And I would stick with the script. Just keep following what the Capitals did at night. Just keep getting a lot of shots on goal if you can, and good things will happen. You take a look at the young netminder for Columbus, and he stood tall, trying to make a name for himself. A guy with truly a unique name, Jet. I actually kind of like it, but you can really kind of tell his age by his first name. But all things considered, a good opportunity for him. Was not too easy on the Caps. I think that had it been a less of a netminder in net for Columbus, that the Capitals maybe would have scored more goals in this game. But in any event, the Capitals were able to answer the bell when they had to, and that was Aliaksei Protas, that was Dylan Strome, and it was just a team working together. All right, so coming up here after the break, I'll talk about areas of improvement. Yes, in a low-scoring affair, there's not a lot of highlights per se. There's not a lot of goal scoring. Those are the sexy things to talk about. So what are some of the areas that need to get cleaned up? I'll discuss next. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent survey. So if you are involved in HR and hiring, that kind of thing, then you need Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/locked-on. Just go to Indeed.com/locked-on right now and support our show by saying you heard about it on the Locked On Capitals podcast. Indeed.com/locked-on. Terms and conditions apply. You need to hire. You need Indeed. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team. Every day, I want to thank all of you for making Locked On Capitals your first listen each and every day. All right, in this next segment here, we're going to talk about areas of improvement. And a bit of a troubling trend there that despite the victory, the Caps need to address certain aspects of the game. They committed too many penalties, and those are the kind of things that can burn you in the end. The Caps found a way to win this game, but they very well could have lost by spending time in the penalty box, including 4 during this match, providing the Blue Jackets with several opportunities to take control. Nick Dowd found himself in the penalty box not once, but twice during the second period, with both high-sticking calls coming about 4 minutes apart. And it's one of the things that Nick Dowd is going to have to clean up, but all things considered, as we take a look, his game's pretty good. Are there things that he needs to work on? Of course, just like all the other players, but maybe his emotions were boiling over a bit. It's definitely a trend worth noting, though, as it seems he's climbing higher and higher in the charts for minor penalties among forwards this season. But, my take on it, all things considered, not too worried about it, as I think that he will sort it all out. But Dowd, well, he wasn't flying solo on the penalty front either. He had company Faravari, Chikrin, TVR also added to our penalty account, creating a bit of a challenge for the team. So you take a look at it, those are the things that come into focus. Just not committing dumb penalties. Your team, of course, is always going to play better when you're on the ice. You're not going to serve your team very well if you're sitting in the penalty box. Now, but here's the silver lining. The Caps really stepped up on the PK, allowing just 1 goal against. So the PK was huge. And ultimately, I'm going to go ahead and say what got the Capitals, or at least played a role in the Capitals' victory tonight. Special teams playing a huge role. That is one of the reasons that the Capitals ended up winning. Now, that's a testament to the resilience of this team. Crucially, to Charlie Lindgren, he was outstanding, like I talked about earlier, especially in the third period, making key saves. So Charlie was huge, but, I don't think that we should try to overtax these netminders either. Let's not air them out to dry. Now, overall, it was a game full of lessons, and we'll be keeping an eye on Dowd's discipline and how much time he spends in the penalty box going forward. But all things considered, areas that need to get cleaned up. Now, like I talked about, the penalty kill remains the best in the league, successfully shutting down 3 of 4 power plays, including a crucial 5-on-3 situation. So as we take a look at this game, there were some highs and lows, but all things considered, kind of uneventful. I'm going to go ahead and say that Aliaksei Protas did a good job, of course, scoring 2 goals, but let's worry about the things that needed to get cleaned up as well. So taking a look at it, the Capitals, like I talked about earlier, are in a good position. They made it to OT. They were able to pick up some points and are in a good position. As I record this now, 42 points. That is good for first in the Eastern Conference and, more importantly, the Metro Division. So taking a look at the games this weekend as well. Saturday, the Sabres. Monday against the Stars. Blackhawks, Hurricanes, Kings, Bruins. There is going to be a lot of hockey between now and Christmas. And, the opportunity for this team to really run away with it in a lot of ways. You take a look at it that, again, just to be in awe of what this team is accomplishing minus Alex Ovechkin in the lineup. So when he is ready to come back at the end of December, early January, that it is only going to be a benefit to this team. I guess if there's any kind of bad news in this whole situation, is that means there's going to be an odd man out. Is it going to be Miroshnichenko? Is it going to be Lapierre? It's going to be a difficult thing as these guys have stepped up. At the end of the day, it's a good position that there's so many great players out there that how must I choose which player is going to come out of there? It is a good position and a bit of a unique position for this year's Capitals team. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals and making it your first listen of the day. For your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey, become a fantasy hockey expert, and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. My name is Dan Holme, and I'll talk to you again next time.